Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 show to bring you all things Club America in English. Your host for today, Ivan Pineda, Christian Rosendo, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Let's start the show.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today we have quite the show ahead of you guys. We're going to be talking that 2-1 victory that America just had over Pachuca, and then we're going to be breaking down the upcoming home game that America has, of course, against Xolos in Seoul. We have plenty more to talk about, all things Las Águilas del América. But before I get any further with this show, let me introduce my co-host, as always, New York's favorite resident, Christian Rosendo. Christian, how are we?
I'm doing good, Ivan. I hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, and this should be a great show.
Definitely. Unfortunately, no Cowboy Dan today. He is at the office. Unfortunately, wasn't unable to clock out in time. He's working a little bit of an overtime shift, but he does send his regards to all of you guys. And moving on forward, today we are joined by a very special guest. You might recognize him from his work on the Mexican Soccer Show. It is Liga MX English expert, none other than Mr. Cesar Hernandez. Cesar, how are you?
Doing well. Just over here in San Diego. Now I feel a little bad for Christian. He records this at 10 o'clock at night. That's some commitment, man. That's some
every
serious
single
commitment.
Tuesday.
If someone asked me to join a pod at 10 o'clock, be like, you know what? Yeah, maybe 10 a.m. We'll serious commitment, man.
Yes, sir.
It is. And I mean, we try to work around all of our schedule, but shout out to Christian and to Dylan too, because, his is at 9 p.m. too. So, that's still kind of late. So, kudos to them. Of course, Cesar, you and I, it's nice and 7 p.m. over here on the west side of things. So we're still hanging in there.
Yeah, it's too bright out. That's the issue. That's why I look a little darker right now. As I haven't set up a lighting situation in about 2 weeks or so, because usually it's just audio only podcast. So I might have to move from left to right to see what's the nicer situation. But then again, I mean, I'm definitely in full quarantine mode, as you can tell with my hair and my beard. So maybe I don't want too much of a bright light on me either.
Yeah, it'll burn, right? Kind of like you expose yourself too much to sunlight.
Exactly.
Alrighty then. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. We're going to be talking and diving into your expertise on Xolos a little bit later on into the podcast. But if you don't mind, we're going to get started with the game that just happened just about 24 hours ago, which was America versus Pachuca. So you gentlemen ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
let's jump into it. So America debuted the Guardianes 2020 season yesterday as they went over to Hidalgo to play against Pachuca in a 2-1 win, which I gave you guys the rundown a week prior to this, that this game was not going to be one for the books. It was going to be very rigged. It was going to be very unentertaining at times, and it was going to be very slow here and there. Christian, you had the pleasure of covering this game yesterday for us over on Twitter. What is your kind of final thoughts? What did you take from this game after the whistle blew and America ended up taking the 2-1 victory?
I think the most important thing is that we got the victory. After a very poor preseason, it was very important for America to start off with the W, just to gain momentum a little bit more confidence. And also in terms of the scheduling that we kind of mentioned last week, this is the time of the season where I think America needs to rack up as many points as they can, because the closing is very difficult. We mentioned that over and over again. So definitely off to a good start after a poor preseason.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, it was kind of a poor season as well last year. Let's kind of face it. With America standards, of course. But Cesar, were you able to watch this game?
Yeah, and who would have thought that America would suffer, 2 injuries in a game? That never happens, right? America injuries, they aren't synonymous with each other at all. But it was pretty interesting. I mean, I think that was actually one of the standouts to me, just because. I mean, I've talked about it with you, Ivan, a lot, but just. I feel like something, at least for me, that defines America in recent years are those injury issues. And you saw Aguilera go down, and who was the second injury? I forgot. The Ibadwin. That's right. He went down as well. And I don't know how serious their injuries are. I haven't been looking at the reports. Hopefully, it's not serious. But there's just something very America about that. But at the same time, too, I mean, I was very impressed by Cordova. Did well as what would you call him, a second striker, a number 10, maybe just more of a cam. But I mean, definitely impressed by him. Won the penalty, has some good shots, and obviously he scored pretty close to the end there.
No, yeah, definitely. It was an interesting game all around, and it's funny too that you bring it up because I was gonna mention that to you right when I hopped over to the your podcast. We talked about these kind of injuries that keep plaguing America for, quite an extensive amount of time now, and we're talking years upon years of kind of reiterating the same narrative. What's going on in America is you can bet any money that America is always gonna have 3-4 major injuries to the squad, and like I said, that's a real big plague on the team. And we were hopeful that this season would be different, but I guess starting things off, Christian, it doesn't look like that's the case.
No, and unfortunately, that just the timing of the injuries. Injuries are never good in a team, but just the players that actually got injured are two sectors of our team that we need help in. Aguilera as a center back, even though he's not the most loved or the most confident center back, we have Sebastián Cáceres there, but it still eliminates the kind of depth that we had back there. Andres Ibargüen, that's kind of being our only true winger left on this team, goes down with another injury, and now we really have no true winger. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward how Piojo kind of copes with these injuries.
Does Aguilera still take free kicks for you guys?
Yeah.
I don't pay too much attention
to penalties.
Okay, because I saw him doing a lot of that over with Xolos. So every now and then when I watch America, I see him taking a lot of free kicks. I don't know if that's also part of something where America is going to be missing someone who could do that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to allude to that, is that America, even though we're missing someone that Christian put, quote unquote, not really a fan favorite, he was definitely one of those players that played a vital role in the team because he played an extensive role in taking free kicks and penalties, right? So we'll have to wait and see. Christian, I think we mentioned the extent of his injuries, about 2 weeks.
2 weeks for Aguilera, and Ibargüen is still not known yet because he needs to take some tests that will be administered tomorrow, and then I think either tomorrow or day after we should get more news on his injury.
Definitely. So if you guys want to stay up to date, make sure you guys follow us over on Twitter and Instagram. We'll keep you guys up to date with all those injuries. But gentlemen, let's talk about the game as a whole. Christian, I kind of want to pick your brain at it because, like Cesar mentioned, Cordoba played a number 10 role, a cam, in which we kind of thought he was going to be playing out on the wing. It's a very interesting lineup for Piojo Herrera to put out, and a very interesting shape formation-wise. You had Roger on the right wing, and then you had Sebastián Cordoba at the cam, and then you had Viñas as a lone striker. Mm-hmm. How did you see that play out for America, and did you like it?
I mean, me, I always advocate for Cordoba to kind of play in that cam position, kind of a free role, kind of space. I think he thrives in that position. I think he is best utilized in that position, and I think we saw a glimpse in this match where he really could be a difference maker. Like Cesar mentioned earlier, he was the one that drew the penalty for us that kind of sealed the game. And his shot taken from long range is impeccable. We've seen him score some golazos from long range. So definitely something I want to see more of. I think the thing that caught my eye the most was Roger being right mid. We've seen him at the left wing. We see him as a lone striker. We see him paired up with the striker, but never really in that right wing position. And I think in the first half, he was still getting, adjusted to the position, because I think that's something he never played before or something he's not used to. Then you kind of see in the second half, he gets a little bit more into it. He gets more in a more of a rhythm, and ultimately he kind of becomes a difference maker in that second half.
He was definitely fouled a lot on the right-hand side, if I remember correctly.
Definitely, yeah.
And I think, was it Manny Garcia from Pachuca who could have potentially gotten a second yellow early on in the game? Obviously, both sides ended up earning reds, but I think you could make an argument that Pachuca could have gone down to 10 men early in the game when I thought that should have been a second yellow. I think it was Manny Garcia who fouled Roger Martinez. So Roger Martinez almost made the team go down to Pachuca go down to 10 men early on.
Mm-hmm. And it was a beautiful flick, actually, by Roger Martinez that kind of drew that foul. I think everyone here agrees that it should have been a second yellow, but we'll leave all controversy aside. But you're right, though. It's interesting because this is another player that's not really a fan favorite within the America fan base, and for him to kind of start being kind of a difference maker in the team, it's interesting to see, and it's something that I guess for myself I'm happy to see, because we know the quality that this player this player has.
No, yeah, he brings a lot to the table, and I think we've mentioned that ever since he first arrived to America, he's had the potential to be special. Whether or not he wants to use it, I think you mentioned that it's kind of like Ibargüen. When he's on, he's on, and when he's not, he's completely a ghost on the pitch. So I think Roger falls under that category as well. We'll get back to Roger a little bit because I think he plays a very, very vital role in the first goal that America plays. But Cesar, I kind of want to get your take on the game itself. How did you see it? It definitely wasn't the most exciting of matches, but were you expecting more from it, or did it live up exactly to what you were expecting?
I know. I mean, it's still kind of the preseason, Like, I think we should be holding a lot of Liga MX teams to a very high standard, So I think I expected some issues. I think Pachuca actually, they did fine. I think they did okay, but the game was over once Burrito got that red and brought them down to 10 men. But I think we should be expecting, teams not exactly hitting the ground running just yet. But I think what's most important for America is that they got their 3 points. I think that's the least you could be asking for right now, especially early on in the season.
Yeah, and I think that's something that even the commentators said. I think when they asked Bam Zamorano, I think he said right now the most important part is America walks away with the 3 points. It's not much of how well they play, but ultimately the result that they walked out of here with. And I think it was important, like Cesar just mentioned, America ends up grabbing the 3 points, which, Christian, we mentioned, this first start of the season, this first half of the season is going to be detrimental for America because the latter half of it is a very tough one to close out. So you need to scrape up as many points as possible to kind of get yourself in a very good, comfortable position going into that second half of the season.
Of course, and I think like everyone mentioned here, right now the important thing is to win. It doesn't have to be a nice 3-0 or 4-0. It's a plain 1-0 win will do just fine for right now, and it's something that we need to kind of build confidence.
And especially with Liga MX, like I don't know, a lot of championship sides are just teams with a lot of momentum. We saw that with, let's use the most recent example, Monterrey, late 2019. Remember how bad they were, and then Mohamed came back. And they got win after win after win and narrowly lost to Liverpool, the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said about momentum. And I think for America, regardless of how they play, it's just you get those 3 points and maybe pick things up a little bit once the season gets along at the halfway point.
No, yeah. Definitely. And now let's talk a little bit about the goals that were scored because, like we mentioned, this wasn't going to be a game that was going to be, like our previous guest said, AJ, a 3-0, showcasing out over there. But we mentioned that this could be a 1-goal difference match, and it definitely was that in the end. So, Christian, obviously, the first goal comes at the hands of Roger Martinez, even though Federico Viña ends up scoring it. 2 questions here. How did you find that play? How did you like Roger Martinez's involvement in that? And 2, Viñas gets on the score sheet yet again. And this is someone that we mentioned has to continue his good run of form if he wants to cement himself as the key starter for America. What were your thoughts on Viñas?
Sure. So I guess to answer your first question, I think that goal was all Roger. The play that he makes down the wing, kind of taking on defenders, and getting ultimately the shot off is what kind of led to the goal, right? Viñas continues to be that player who is just kind of always there when we need him to be, and always scoring goals when we need him to score. So I think this is the player that I think a lot of us had on our radar for this season because a lot of people like to call him kind of a one-season wonder. Oh, he kind of had a fluke, whatever, beginner's luck. This is the season to prove that all of that was just a lie, that, he is the real deal. He is here to stay. He is here to be a key player in America and potentially be one of the top scorers in the league.
No, yeah, definitely. Cesar, when you asked me who could potentially be the key talisman of this team, I mentioned Viñas. What is your thoughts on, our poacher-esque style of an attacker?
He definitely poached that opportunity, didn't he? Like you guys said, that was all Roger Martinez. He should have been given the assist right there, although it was like a shot, kind of got a little deflected, had a little bit of a weird bounce, and then it was Viñas who picked it up. But that's what you have to do in those opportunities. You got to capitalize on those chances. So credit to him and for giving America the first goal. Eventually they would need Cordova to step up to get a second, but you can't ask for more of a player to put himself in the right position and find the back of the net. And also, I guess he had a nice, if I'm remembering correctly, he kind of picked the ball up, moved just to the right of the keeper as well. So that was pretty impressive. But yeah, credit to Viñas.
Yeah, he definitely is showcasing that he has the capability to be that number 9 for us. And we'll have to wait and see whether or not he can continue that good run of form and, bag one up against Xolos. And, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think he's going to play a vital role the way he did in this game. Christian, anyone else that stood out to you in this game?
Well, obviously, we kind of mentioned it prior to the pod, but I think Sebastian Cáceres, when he came in, I think he had a solid game. I think for someone who's kind of relatively still new to the league and kind of still kind of getting adjusted to this new team, I think you just slot him in right there, and I think he was solid. We saw him a couple of times in the preseason, which I think he looked good. We saw him once or twice last season. It's I guess the most recent game that pops up to me was against a game against Monterrey, which we ended up winning. But I think he had a couple of key saves in that match too. In this match, I think he played his role really well. Obviously, there's still some few rookie mistakes like you mentioned prior to the pod commencing, but I think as you give him more time, he's going to solidify himself as probably going to be the starting center back duo with Bruno Valdez.
I was impressed by Richard Sanchez as well. I think he was doing a lot of quiet work in the middle. He's kind of like a linchpin. When I was looking at the passing maps, it's just he had so many connections with the rest of the starting 11. So I think along with Cáceres, who I'm calling defender Cáceres as opposed to midfielder Cáceres, because I'm still trying to figure out the difference. But yeah, I would say Richard Sanchez. I think he did a lot of quiet work in the middle of the field.
Definitely. This is a player that I think we wanted him to kind of pick up from last season, because I think last season he was probably one of our better players as well. And to see him kind of continue the form into this season is definitely a good sign for us.
Yeah, he was definitely someone that even Christian and I, before we even started recording this, we were talking about Richard Sanchez, and I mentioned to him exactly what you just mentioned, Cesar. He had a quiet but efficient game. He was doing exactly what we expected of him to do, and I think that's the heartwarming feeling, knowing that that one player, like Christian mentioned, that you wanted to continue to have a good role, definitely did. He was all over the place. Even when there was fouls, he was always next to the referee, kind of pressuring and saying, "Hey, when are you going to show another card? Yellow." So he was definitely doing his role as that midfielder. So yeah, hats off to Richard Sanchez as well. But here's a player that I kind of want to pick your guys' brain out. Cordoba. Cesar, I know you said he impressed you. Christian, you said that he was a little bit too quiet for your liking. Cesar, I'll throw it to you first. What was your thoughts on the Mexican? And then Christian, you can answer after that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's just a little tough when you're playing that 10 role. You're not going to be getting the ball as much as, let's say, Richard Sanchez or let's say someone on the wings or someone in the back line. So I think it's a little bit tough when he's roaming around. But I think also, after they went down to 10 men, he had to drop back a little bit, didn't he? He had to take over. So I would say he sat a little further back and he had to kind of like sit alongside Richard Sanchez a bit. I could be wrong, but at least that was from my understanding. But what more could you ask for a young player to step up, get the penalty, and also find the game winner? So I think he did what he needed to do. Maybe he didn't have as much of an impact as some would have wanted, but I don't know. I was impressed by him.
I think for me, I think because America's philosophy is just play to the wing, play to the wing, play to the wing. I think that's why we didn't see much of Cordoba, honestly. But I think for my opinion, I really want us to kind of start playing more in the middle, giving the ball more to Cordoba, because like you said, he's very talented. He can really distribute the ball, create. That's a player we need right now, currently in the state of America, which we lack creativity to the max. And this is a player who can be the difference maker. This is a player who can define games for you, like he did in this one, with having minimal impact. Now imagine if you give him a bigger, more important role, the difference he can make. So I surely expect Cordoba to kind of have more of an impact as the season goes along, and I hope he continues to play that kind of cam position.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you guys think that's his best position? Because I would say if you wanted to, you can play him like on the wing, maybe as a central midfielder, maybe even as it's kind of like a cam, but as a second striker. But I've been a big fan of him as a central attacking midfielder. But I don't know, where do you guys think is his best position? I've always been wondered what America fans think.
I think I'll speak for Christian on this one as well. We like him in the middle, whether it's that cam or center mid spot. He just offers a lot more. I think once you put him out on the wing, he gets a little bit lost or a little bit flustered, because as a winger, I think you're asked to do a lot of more different things than you are when you're in the middle. I don't think he has kind of that dribbling aspect that a natural winger does. I think he finds himself, at very difficult times trying to take on one or two defenders. And I don't know, Christian, do you want to elaborate a little bit more as to why we like him more in the midfield?
No, definitely, and I think you said it perfectly. I think his qualities as a player are better suited for him to play in that cam position. And like I reiterate, he's a player who can create, who can put a pass, who can take a long shot. Something that I think adds to variety when going on the attack, and it's something that we need desperately in America right now.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that was Cordoba. I was taking a little bit of hate on Twitter again, as always, with my vendetta on Cordoba, even though I didn't say anything
Wait,
this time.
you have to explain it. What do you mean by that?
So, I mean, every time I'll either come on the podcast, I'll say something about Cordoba because I do hold him to a high standard, like any youngster with America. And some people in the community have taken upon themselves to kind of remind me every time that he scores or does something. Like our friend Amelia, she put out a tweet saying, when am I gonna love him, and stuff like that. So shout out to everyone who has a little bit of banter on it. I love it. I love the back and forth, and we'll continue to have this Cordoba discussion until he's out in Europe, which I believe if he can step it up and continue to do the good work that he does, we'll see him there. But for now,
it might be too early. It might be too early, but I don't know. I'm a fan. I think he could do all right in Europe. I'm not saying like he should go to Atleti Madrid and he'll make it like that. Like that's a little outlandish. I'm saying, I don't know, maybe some mid-table La Liga side, some mid to lower table La Liga side. I think he could step up. I think he could do a decent job. Would it be a starter for any of those teams? Maybe not, but would it be good for him for his development to be a backup and get minutes? Maybe after a season he could become a starter. Maybe. I don't know. I think he's ready for Europe. Maybe even something like the Bundesliga too, that I think he'd do really well in.
Yeah, and I think even Pio Herrera said at the beginning of the season was that he was kind of the one player that they're worried about. That some clubs have an eye on him, and America's always been the type of team that says, "Look, we're not gonna stand in your way of your dream. If the right club and the right offer comes through, then we'll definitely accept it, and we'll hear it out, and we'll let you go." But that is definitely a man that right now I would feel like is a little bit hard to replace, especially with the qualities that Christian has mentioned that he has and he brings to the table. So we'll have to wait and see, but hopefully Cordoba can stick around a little longer.
Maybe that youngster, what's his name? Gio dos Santos. How old is he? He's a young kid, right? He could play him as a 10, that youngster you have, came out of the cantera. He's probably 32, 31? I don't know.
Yeah, it's on around there.
He's still got a little bit more, he's got to play a little bit more games. You got to take it minute by minute with him. No, but yeah, definitely. I think Cordoba, it was good for him to get on the score sheet. I think that's definitely going to help develop his game is if he can continue to put his numbers forward. And it's something I talked about with a friend of mine off the podcast. And we mentioned that Cordoba sometimes can be a player that is confidence driven. When he has the confidence, he'll continue to keep producing. But when he's kind of lost it, he's not the same player. And I think the more that he can get himself on the score sheet, on the assist sheet, it's going to add to him. And I do want to see how he's going to react in games where maybe he's not giving those passes or he's not scoring those goals. How is he going to mentally prepare himself for the next game and kind of, up and up his game for that? Because I think that is one of his, one of the things that hinges him in his career right now. So, well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But anything else we want to talk about in regards to this America Pachuca game? Well, quick question for you guys. That penalty that America concedes, do you guys think it was a penalty or not? Or how do you guys see it?
And by that, you mean we all recognized it was a foul, but was it actually in the 18-yard box? Is that what you mean? Or both? No, or both?
The one that America concedes.
Oh, the one that I thought you meant. Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant that the one that Cordoba was fouled. Oh, okay. The one that I guess I can't remember. So anyway, I'll let you guys continue. Sorry, go ahead.
It should have went to VAR. It should have went to VAR.
It should have went to VAR, right? But it sucks because Ochoa was really close to saving that one. But of course, that's always a keeper's nightmare. That little tunnel that he's unable to get to it. But overall, I think a pretty good game, 2-1 in regards to that. But obviously not the spectacular game that anyone was expecting. But like we mentioned, it's still kind of preseason mode, so have to have a little bit of leeway on that. But America does get the 3 points. So anything else to talk about in regards to America Pachuca, guys? Or are you guys ready to move on?
Yeah, I think I'm all right.
Okay, alrighty. Well, before we move on to the preview, America versus Xolos, Christian, do you have any transfer news updates for us before we get started?
I mean, nothing much really. I think everything's all the same. It's just now in the most recent days, the Mauro Lainez has been heavily linked to America. This is a player that I think Cesar is very familiar with.
The other line is
The other line is yes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he is still out with an injury currently.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So out for an injury, but this is something that the board and PO, are eyeing. Definitely right now with the whole pandemic and the whole crisis going. Big name signings aren't common right now, and they're most likely not going to happen. So kind of going local is, I think, the name of the game right now. But that's definitely a player that they're looking into. And reliable sources have confirmed the interest, and maybe an offer will come in the coming days. And I guess the more reassuring thing is that the president has come out and said that the signing should be closed this week and should be announced by the end of the week. So I guess stay out, keep an eye out for that. And that's pretty much all I got for you today.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Xolos let him go, because they already have a player who's essentially playing his position right now, who's Fabian Castillo. So yeah, I would be surprised. At the same time, I don't know, Mauro Lainez is a little hit and miss. I think he has a lot of pace, he has a lot of speed. Maybe shooting isn't that good. Maybe his dribbling could be a little bit better, but at the very least, I think he could be a good impact player off the bench if he was to go for America.
It's an interesting one because I think it's kind of redundant again for America to go for a player that is injured right now and
Injured.
all these injuries plaguing us. It's like, really? But we'll have to wait and see. And of course, I mean, like you mentioned, the news broke out that Santiago Baños said that there should be a signing announced this week. Whether or not it happens, we'll have to wait and see. These things change all the time. But again, Christian will have you guys up to date over on Twitter. So make sure you guys keep a close eye on that one. So
they're just checking his resume and they're like, injury? He's like, he's got America DNA. Bring him up. Call him up.
He's exactly what we need. We can change him. I mean, well, let's hope not. But is he injury prone, Cesar?
Actually, not that I'm aware of. From what I've followed with him at Xolos, I can't remember him being too much on the injury list. I don't think he actually is injury prone, but I mean, who knows? Who knows about how serious this current injury is? But yeah, I don't think he's that injury prone.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see. And now, moving on to the ultimate discussion of tonight. It is America versus Xolos, as America will be hosting them on Saturday. I would say at home because it is a home game, but we are going to be playing in Seul in the meantime, as the lights in the Azteca are still being installed. I don't know why it's taking this long for lights to be installed, Christian, but the game is going to be played on Saturday. What time specifically?
I think it's 6 p.m. my time.
6 p.m. your time. Wow, yes. That is an early game.
That's an early game. Yes, back to the good old days.
I was gonna say back to the good old days where you could watch America over here at least at 3 p.m. and still have the rest of the day to go by, and still enjoy your Saturday. But it's gonna be interesting, of course. We'll have to wait and see how America does in Seul. Cesar, are you a big believer that home field advantage is important, and whenever a team doesn't play in their home stadium, it's still considered an away game?
I think everything's thrown out the window right now with the pandemic, to be honest. I mean, without fans, I mean, it's just, and we've seen that in other leagues too. The home field advantage doesn't really mean much, isn't as powerful as it used to be without the fans. So I think whether they played at the Azteca, where they play, or any other place in Mexico City for what matters there. I mean, I think without the fans, it's an entirely different feel.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but does not take away from the fact that it should be an interesting game. Cesar, we did say that these games leading up to maybe the Jornada 6 or 7 we're gonna be considered kind of preseason games. But it's two squads that on paper look very attractive in regards to a game. What is your take from this game? What do you expect from this game?
I think there'll be some interesting battles on the flanks based off of what Xolos showed their first game. In their first match, you saw them go with like a 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1. There was a lot of focus on the wings. So I think that left and right flank, I think that's where you're going to see a lot of battles. I think that's where the game's going to be won.
Interesting. Well, Christian, how's America gonna tackle this game? Because we know that Xolos has one of the more interesting squads in this season. How do you think America is gonna go out and try to battle what Xolos will present?
Well, I think Cesar could put it perfectly. You know, they're right now their strongest suit right now could be on the flanks, and I think that's something that we need to keep an eye on. You know, we have Jorge Sanchez and Luis Reyes as our left back and right back, and whilst we like Jorge Sanchez on the right, you know, he hasn't really been performing to his standards, and you know, Luis Reyes, you know, coming back from San Luis, for personally to me, hasn't been that same player. So if both of them are not up to standard, this could be a very messy night for us.
I thought Luis Reyes was. I thought he was actually quite poor in the last game too for America. I thought I felt like he lost the ball a lot, and I looked at the stats and saw that he did lose the ball a number of times. So, I mean, for Xolos, that could be an opportunity right there. I mean, because they're going to have some high pressing wing backs. They're going to have Miller Bolaños, who likes to push out towards the right hand side as well. I mean, if they want, they could switch over Fabian Castillo to play on the right wing too. I mean, it's just I think that should be a worry for America fans.
Yeah, no, I think you put it perfectly. But let's not go a little bit further into this without kind of getting what the starting 11 or predicting the starting 11. Cesar, if you don't mind, what do you think Xolos is going to come out with on Saturday? I know it's kind of still early, but what do you think this team will bring on Saturday?
Well, luckily I wrote it down. Give me a second here. I think they'll essentially go what they went with their last game. So you're going to have Orozco net, Victor Guzman, Barbieri, and Colula in the back. You're going to have Jimmy Gomez, Balanta, and Clifford Aboagie, and also Fabian Castillo, essentially as midfielders. And they're going to have Nahuel Pan, Lopez, and Bolaños up top. I think up top, those three are going to kind of... It's going to be a little bit more dynamic. It's going to be a little bit more free-flowing, but definitely keep an eye on Jimmy Gomez on the right-hand side. Definitely keep an eye on Fabian Castillo on the left-hand side, because like I said, I think through Castillo, through Jimmy Gomez, that's where you see a lot of attacking movement for Xolos going forward.
Interesting. Now, Christian, what do you think America is going to come out with on Saturday?
Okay, so in that I'll have Guillermo Ochoa, the back four, Jorge Sanchez, Bruno Valdez, Sebastian Cáceres, Luis Reyes, kind of in the midfield, also Gonzalez, Richard Sanchez. On the right, we'll have Roger Martinez. On the right, we'll have Giovanni Dos Santos. On the left, we'll have Roger Martinez, Cordova in kind of that cam position, and Viñas up top.
Interesting lineup. Now, I know a lot of people are pressing the panic button once they hear also Gonzalez in that midfield. But of course, Santi Cáceres got that red card and unfortunately isn't able to play. Would it help to drop Cordova in that center mid position? Maybe put Gio out on the cam and maybe possibly Leo Suarez on the right?
No.
Okay, that was a quick and simple answer.
Yes, no.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I feel like you got to use Cordova at his best, and it's at that
Definitely.
cam position, right? I mean, can Cordova provide a lot defensively? Can he provide a lot with his aggressive presence? Not maybe, I don't know, but I think you have to keep him as a cam because I think that's him at his best.
Alrighty. Well, you guys heard it here first. Cordova on the cam and also Gonzalez trying to play the Guido Rodriguez role on Saturday. We'll see how that ends up going. But okay, gentlemen, now that we kind of have an idea of what these two teams are going to present, I kind of want to talk to you, Cesar, in regards to key players for Xolos. And one player stands out to me, and that is Nahuel Pan, a player that me and you have talked about before and you have mentioned is the poor man's Zlatan. How detrimental he's going to be to this Xolos side on Saturday going forward?
I mean, he's going to give a tough time to Bruno Valdez. I think that's going to be a key matchup right there between the two of them. I think they're both very aggressive players. I think Valdez could potentially contain him. But the issue is Valdez doesn't have to just worry about Nahuel Pan. It's going to be Bolaños. And he loves to drift with the ball. He loves to be a free roaming player. And I think it's going to be a lot of attacking numbers coming at him, especially with Fabian Castillo coming on the left-hand side. You're going to have some high-pressing fullbacks. It's going to be challenging. I'm going to go ahead and say, I know we probably should be making predictions just yet. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be end in a draw, but I don't know. I think, Pablo Guede, Xolos' new manager, he loves to play attack-minded soccer, and he's going to give some opportunities. That's for sure for America, going forward. There's going to be some space for them in the attack, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of numbers going forward for Xolos.
It's definitely going to be an interesting one. Christian, another player from the Xolos roster that kind of draws your eye that could cause us problems on Saturday?
I think you got to look at Clifford. I think he's definitely a
Big
player
Cliff?
that Big
Yeah.
Cliff, definitely. He's very underrated. I think at his time at Querétaro and even at his time as Atlas, that was the player I always kept my eye out on. Eye out. Definitely a player who can change the game for you, who can place a nice ball to you. And I think also Gonzalez gonna have his work cut out for him and Richard Sanchez. I think that's gonna be my two key players to watch for this match. If they can live up and kind of sustain them and kind of keep them level, I think we have a pretty good shot. But like Cesar mentioned, Xolos this year has a lot of different options from both sides of the pitch, and I think we need to find the best way to kind of contain them. And I think also Gonzalez has a big task.
And if Xolos are truly a dark horse in this competition, then I think they need a statement, early on this season. And I think a good result against America would really make a statement to the rest of the league. So I would imagine Gede must be, Xolos' manager, he must be motivated. And I can only imagine the players must be too, because they're trying to win over their new manager as well. So I think they should definitely be motivated for this match.
Definitely. And I think America
Definitely
kind of has a glimpse of Gede football. We kind of met up against them against Morelia in the Liguilla last season, not the COVID season, but the last season prior to that one. And we kind of saw in that first leg Morelia overwhelm us, and the style of play that he possessed in that first game should have been carried on to the second game, but we kind of know what happened in the second game. But more I guess in the first leg, a lot of attack coming down from the wings is what definitely ultimately kind of punished America in that first leg. So I'm not surprised to hear that he kind of brought that same style over to Xolos, and that with players that I think arguably are better than what he had at Morelia. This could possess for some dangerous attacks.
Yeah, and at the same time, though, I think a weakness could be in the middle, though, because I don't know, like I said, a lot of the movement was going forward, and I think Balanta maybe didn't play. That's Xolos' other midfielder in the middle. I think he could have been better. So if there is a weak point, I think if you go down the middle, that could potentially hurt Xolos. But then again, you could also make the argument that if Xolos are throwing numbers forward through the wings, attack the flank. So it'll be interesting to see what Piojo does.
No, yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what Piojo does. And Christian, who do you think is going to play a key role in the America lineup to actually, maybe grab us all 3 points against Xolos?
Well, I guess if you look at the attack, I think you got to look at Cordoba to kind of be that difference maker. I think if we can get him the ball enough, if you can let him kind of distribute and create as we need him to be, I think we have a pretty good shot at scoring a couple of goals here.
No, yeah, definitely. Cesar, what is one player besides Cordoba that kind of draws your attention and could spell trouble for Xolos?
I mean, it's Ochoa, right? Like, I think that it's the easy answer, but I think Ochoa is going to have a pretty good season with America, and I think a make or break situation for them for winning the title. And I know I'm looking far ahead here, but I think it's got to be Ochoa, so I'm going to stick with him.
No, yeah, definitely. And Ochoa, who had a good night in Pachuca, of course, the only goal he conceded was that penalty. A bit harsh to ask for him to, block that one, which he almost did. But he had a pretty good save.
He almost
in the
got
first
it.
half.
It just went right under him. It was close, yeah.
Yeah, but I had a pretty good save in the first half, and he's like I mentioned to everyone on Twitter that he's gonna have a solid season. We just had to give him the time, and I think he's gonna prove that. But hopefully, like you mentioned on Saturday, he can showcase that as well. But like you mentioned, I think he is gonna have a lot of work come Saturday, and hopefully, him and his defense are ready for it. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think it's two very good key players that America, needs to focus on in regards to the Xolos attack, and then of course what America can offer going forward and in defense. We'll have to wait and see. But Christian, how do you think America is going to play this one out? Are we going to go down the wing like we always do, or do we finally play down the middle and utilize Cordoba, the right way?
You know me. I'm always gonna say I hope they use Cordoba, utilize him to his potential. But ultimately, I think depending on who starts, because we don't know if Gio is gonna be ready to start on Saturday. But ultimately, who starts, I think they're gonna really be reliant on Roger. So I guess that's another key player I think we need to watch too. Hopefully, Roger can kind of pick up from his form second half, like the way he had it in Pachuca. Look for him to kind of continue his rhythm, kind of continue to get in the game early on. And, kind of make something down that wing, because I think when he gets in his rhythm, when he gets in his groove, he's a very dangerous player.
Definitely. Well, Cesar, what do you think Xolos' main goal for the game on Saturday going to be? Is it, continuously high press America and, push people up?
I think so, because, I mean, I would say with most Xolos managers, they would say, get the draw, going over to Mexico City, got to aim for that draw, but Guede, I don't know, he's different. He's definitely a different manager. So I think he's going to aim for the win here. I think he's going to be just short. I think it's going to end up being a draw, but he's going to throw those numbers forward. He's not going to be afraid. He's not going to be afraid at all, especially with this roster that he has, this Xoloretero roster that he has. So yeah, I think he's going to go all out. He's going to throw numbers forward. He's going to focus on the wings. Bolaños and Alban are going to be a little bit of a headache, a little bit more centrally. So yeah, just continue with that attack-minded soccer.
No, yeah, and it's interesting because I was just about to ask for the predictions here, and you mentioned a draw, but do you expect there to be goals?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go with. I think Ochoa's gonna be too good to make it 2-2. Let's go 1-1. Let's go 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Alrighty, Christian.
Yeah. See this. I think I'm gonna go with the 1-1 draw too.
Alrighty. Well, I'll be optimistic here. I'm going with a 1-0 win for America. I'm hoping that Ochoa gets that clean sheet. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't expect America to take most of their chances because, yeah, as history shows us, they don't necessarily do. But I think, like you mentioned, Cesar, they will be presented with a couple, and hopefully they take the chances. And then knowing Miguel Herrera, I think he's definitely going to kind of park the bus and try to get the results. So early on in the season, I think what matters to him is getting those 3 points and, worrying about how good the team performs a little bit later down the road.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, yeah, that was Wayne. It's going to be interesting. I think if there's an opportunity there for America, especially if you have Jimmy Gomez pushing way too high up, if you have Fabian Castillo pushing way too high up, there could be some opportunity there on the flank. So like I said, I think this match is going to be won on the wings. This will be an interesting one.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Well, you guys can catch that live over on Tu DN at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Central, and then, of course, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You guys can follow that game live over on Twitter with us at Eagle Eye Podcast. And Cesar, where can they find you over on Twitter?
They can find me at Cesar H Football. You can see all my posts about Mexican soccer, American soccer, and sometimes about cats, because there's been a lot of there's 6 kittens who were born recently in the neighborhood. So, it's been
I've been checking your Instagram story. I was you had quite the neighbors.
Yeah, it's been highly entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. As someone who's still definitely self-quarantining, those kittens have been a lot of fun.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Alrighty, well, gentlemen, I think that's pretty much run the course of this podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Everyone that came out, thank you so much, and everyone that's listening right now, thank you. You guys can find us over on, like I mentioned, Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast, and of course, follow us over on the podcast, which is going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else that you get your podcast. Just type in the Eagle Eye Podcast, and you guys can listen to us on the go. Gentlemen, anything else to say before we wrap things up?
No, I think it should be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. I think, I think it'll be fascinating to see, and I think it could kind of give us maybe even a little bit of a playoff preview. Just see what we're gonna see, a couple months down the line, or I should say, a few months down the line.
I hope it has playoff intensity. I think something that we need right now. I do want to do one thing. I think an early goal will be crucial for either team. Kind of whoever gets the early goal will kind of disrupt whatever the other team will try to do. So I guess am I guess being biased, I hope America gets that early goal, kind of disrupt Xolos a little bit there, make them a little bit flustered. So I think early goal is key in this match.
No, yeah, it most definitely will. Well, that does it for us. I hope you guys had a wonderful time. Stay safe out there. Make sure you guys continue that quarantine, wear your masks, and pretty much we'll catch you guys over next week to talk all things America versus Xolos. Hopefully it's a good one, like these two gentlemen have mentioned. Alrighty, guys, take care, be safe. Until next time, and as always, Arriba America. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.